Elle gets out of the car and starts running after him. Whoa, hot soup! Welcome back, readers. I'm Robin. I'm your uncle. This week, I am sorry in advance. We are going to be tackling Death Note. Now, Death Note is not based on a book, strictly speaking. It is based on a manga series. It's written by Tsugumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata. It is one of my favorite manga and subsequently anime series that I have ever encountered. It was really popular when I was in my tweens. I like my hair a little better today, but it's still not exactly where I want it to be. So the manga Death Note is about a genius student named Light Yagami, or Yagami Raito, who is tired of the world and all of the people in it who treat other people like garbage. He is disdainful of criminals and would-be criminals, and one day he finds a book called a Death Note, which will kill whoever's name you put in its pages as long as you have their face in mind. He soon becomes pursued by another genius, also of high school age, named Elle. Now, the manga follows these two geniuses in their 4D chess-like dealings with each other, while Elle tries to entrap Light, and Light tries to find out Elle's real name so that he can kill him. It is incredibly intense, interesting, intelligent. So when I saw that Netflix had made an adaptation, I was tickled pink. I really enjoyed the Japanese live-action adaptation. It's a two-parter. The first one is called Death Note, and the second one is called Death Note: The Last Name. Honestly, I enjoyed it. But when I found out that Netflix was going to come out with one, I was really intrigued and sorely disappointed. So if you want to get mad, feel free to watch the Netflix Death Note, but if you don't want to, that's fine. I will give you the rundown without you needing to pause and scream and throw something at the TV. The Netflix Death Note stars Nat Wolff.
I didn't hear anything.
Margaret Qualley. Lakeith Stanfield.
That's Darius. Cookie.
And Willem Dafoe.
Get the fuck out of here!
Strap in, because this is something else. Here is Death Note. So the first thing that is worthy of note is that it takes place in Seattle, not Japan, which I get, I guess. I mean, they wanted it to be in English, so it wouldn't make sense if they made it in Japan. So we see Light doing math problems as he is watching a football game. Ooh, he's a bad boy. He's selling homework. We get to meet the cheerleaders, and Jesus Christ, this chick is smoking on the field. That is a good way to get second-degree burns. Okay, so this is going on, and a book falls from the sky. Fancy as hell. It's all leather-bound and shit, and it says Death Note on it. Everyone runs from the rain because apparently they're all made of sugar. I guess you can't have football practice in the rain. I used to do rugby, and anything short of a thunderstorm, we would stay outside and still play. Or this isn't even a game, it's practice. Like, you can't practice in the rain. Okay. Our main character sees a bunch of bullies attacking someone, and he does nothing about it. But when this girl, Margaret Qualley, comes up and starts to defend Nerdo McNerd, then suddenly Light is like, oh, he's a woman. I gotta protect the woman folk. And she says that she doesn't need his help. Good for you, girl. I just noticed the bully has really weird sideburns. Like, it stops like halfway to his ear. Like, either get the Doctor Who or don't get sideburns at all. So Light tries to reason with this kid, saying that since he is over 18, he will get in trouble if he hits Light, who is younger than 18, and that doesn't work. So he clocks Light, and Light loses consciousness. So this teacher sees a student lying in the pavement, and rather than help the kid, her instinct is to look at his homework. Why was his homework just like lying on the ground beside him? He wasn't holding it or anything. Why? Okay. So he goes to see the principal, who is equally interested in the assault and is more interested in why he has all these students' papers, and basically figures out quickly that he is being paid to do homework for other kids. And he says some bullshit about how some principals would take pity on him because his mom died, but I'm not one of those principals. I'm a real tool, so I'm giving you detention. So it's detention time, and the teacher has to like go to the bathroom or something. And he pulls out the death note and he starts to read the rules, and there are like tons of rules. In the original, I think there were maybe 6. I don't remember exactly how many there were, but there weren't like 1,000 rules. There were like 6 rules, and you had to work within those bounds of the rules. Rule number 1, though, is the most important one. And it is the human whose name is written in this book shall die. They must have the human's face in mind while writing the name. And as he's reading this, suddenly a bunch of marbles pop out from behind the shelves. In the balls! In the balls! So he sees for the first time a Shinigami, which is a death god. And the death god's name is Ryuk. And Light screams very manly. I gotta admit, I laughed. This made me laugh. And he starts to try to run away from Ryuk, and Ryuk just tears the room apart. So as this is going on, Light tries to escape the classroom, but the door is locked somehow. And then Ryuk eats his apple. Aw, my lunch. Aw, my baby. So Ryuk appears and tells Light to go to the window and use the death note. So the same bully, Kenny, is beating somebody up, and he tells Light to put Kenny's name in it. So he does. The method of death that he had chosen, or the deathid that he chose, was decapitation. And so in the manga, Light does not need any incentive to write down names. He tests it out himself and then gets to work. He writes a ton of names on his own. He doesn't need anyone saying, hey, do this. There's no like devil on his shoulder. And Ryuk doesn't really have any kind of skin in the game. His whole thing is, I was bored. I want to see what's going to happen. I dropped the death note, and I still have my own death note. So that's where we're at in the manga. In this piece of shit, be prepared for Ryuk to kind of be a placeholder for like a villain, which is just dumb, but I digress. Anyway, so this kind of breakfast machine death sequence a la Final Destination happens, and Light is horrified and surprised that the kid died. And I wonder whether this was supposed to be a dark comedy, because the way that this kid gets his head cut off is like so weird and kind of funny, or am I just a sociopath? So like this ladder comes out and blows this kid's head clean off. Not clean off. It's like, it's actually quite gory and all like, so Kenny's dead.
Oh my god! They killed Kenny! You bastard!
And Ryuk is suddenly gone. And I'm surprised that Light didn't get any repercussions for this room looking absolutely trashed, but I digress. So Light goes home, and his dad gives him the 3rd degree about being in school later because he intuits that Light got detention. And Light gets annoyed. He's like, listen, you're a cop. You should be concerned with more important things, like the guy who killed my mom. His mom was hit by a drunk driver, and the guy's rich daddy, I think he was drunk. I could be wrong about this, but anyway, the guy's rich daddy got him off.
Giggity.
And Light is still really sore about it. And the dad kind of deflects and says that he does his best, you know, he's trying to do what's right, the right thing. I mean, he's a cop, so like, take that with a grain of salt. But I'm trying to do something new, so let's figure it out. Okay. So Light takes an apple upstairs, red delicious, weird choice, and then goes upstairs to, I don't know, do whatever teenagers do.
I cracked a blanket in half.
So Light goes through the death note and sees that there are like 100 rules. I do not know why this is. There were only a couple in the manga, probably so that they can, you know, flout the rules and make up some dumb bullshit for whatever ending that they had planned. Spoiler alert, that's exactly what happens. So one of the pages says, don't trust Ryuk. He is not your friend. The lights go out, and Light puts the other Light, the person Light, puts the apple on the floor and Nyuk eats it. You know, for someone who seems to like apples so much, he really doesn't eat that much of the apple. But then it's a red delicious, so maybe that's why, because red delicious is disgusting. Should call it red undelicious.
That's a garbage apple.
So we get a couple more rules about the death note. Each death needs to be physically possible. Like you can't get eaten by a shark while on the toilet, for example. Now, in the manga, if you don't write a cause of death, by default, you will die of a heart attack. So the same thing goes for if your death is not possible, you will default to dying of heart attack. So apparently you can control someone up to 2 days before the death, completely control them. I believe that is something similar in the manga. So what does Light do? He writes the name of the person who killed his mom. And here's another like Final Destination, Rube Goldberg machine death scenario where he ends up falling on his own knife.
He ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times.
I'm not going to show you the deaths. They're very cartoonish, but they're also super gory. So I feel like they're trying to turn this movie into another Final Destination when the manga, as it was already perfect. They really didn't need to add all of this gore. It's not necessary. So the next morning, Dad comes into Light's room and tells him that the guy who killed their mom is dead. And he tells Light that he loves him. And it's not really important to the story. I really like seeing non-toxic masculinity. So at school, Light is abstaining from gym class, or else he's watching cheerleading practice or volleyball practice or something. And he is approached by a cheerleader whose name is Mia. Now, she is supposed to be Misa Misa from the manga, and you're gonna very quickly realize that she resembles Misa Misa in basically no way. Misa was a devoted, loving, almost like zealot who thought that Light was God, because basically the people who killed her parents were punished by him. But in this, she's just like some kind of weirdo who seems fixated on death, because she comes up to Light and asks him whether he saw Kenny's death. And Light says, yes, I did. And so she seems quite interested in him after that. I also noticed here that Light's hair is wildly different in every scene. My thinking is that they dyed his hair blonde at the start of shooting, and his hair is growing out more and more. They didn't really try to make continuity. Like, why didn't you just re-dye his hair, guys? So this next part is a huge slap in the face to anyone who read the manga. She asks Light what he has, like, in his hands, and he's like, oh, I can't tell you. And she's like, all right, and she starts to leave, and he goes, do you really want to know? Light in the manga would never just show the death note to get some tang. Never. Ever. He would never. He is way too cautious. He's way too intelligent for that. But this guy he has a huge crush on this girl, apparently. And he is willing to put himself in danger by telling this girl that he's basically a murderer. And it made me so mad, you guys. Anyway, so he takes her into the cafeteria. Like, what is up with this school? Is this school just like not attended by people? Or what? He's like staying after school to like sit in the volleyball practice? So he shows her the death note, she touches it, and he expects her to see Ryuk. And she should, based on the manga. If you touch the book, you can see the death god. That's how it works. But apparently only he can see Ryuk. Okay, so he then proves to her that the death note works. They go to, I guess, the computer lab, and they watch this reporting on an active kidnapping situation. So he writes a very specific death for this guy, and it plays out exactly the way that it says on the death note. He lets the hostages go and then steps in front of a car while saluting. And this is enough to convince Mia. I mean, it would convince me, I guess. So Light says that he wants to use the death note to get justice, and Mia says that he should go even further. So he brings her home, and he goes to kiss her and asks her for consent, and she's like, you're not supposed to ask. Yes, you are. Consent is sexy. Consent is required. Good on you, Light. Anyway, and I guess they do it. something about death and sex, I guess. So it's time for the sex death montage. So Light and Misa make out while killing people. So Light seems to be doing things for like the greater good.
Shut it!
But Mia just seems like a vindictive, bloodthirsty person. They make up a god, and this is really stupid. So in the manga, people in Japan are seeing what Light is doing, and they essentially turn him into a god. They say that he is exacting revenge on people who have done wrong, and they start to kind of worship him, and they call him Kira, which means essentially killer, because it sounds like killer in English. But here, they do something really dumb. They say that Kira means light in Celtic and in Russian, which is not true. And then they say the Japanese thing, but it's kind of like, what? Dude, what? The fuck are you talking about? I don't like this. Why isn't this turning black, Mr. Black?
Mr. Black.
I do not like this eyeliner, you guys. Like, it looks like it's taking off a layer of the makeup as I'm using it. So, meanwhile, in Tokyo, everyone in a nightclub is dead, including the dancers, which I don't appreciate. If you're gonna go ahead and, like, punish people for being, you know, I think they were, like, all gangsters or something, why would you kill the working girls there? Like, they're just doing their jobs. I think that's pretty shitty. Like, they don't deserve to die just because there were gangsters there. What are you gonna do? Leave? So there's some masked guy looking around. He has a Japanese man with him, and they are talking about, there's been info leaked about these criminals online, and so this masked man gets into a limo, and apparently he has been awake for 23 hours, so he starts to shotgun candy, and his, I don't know, second in command, his butler, his partner, Watari, gives him these like sci-fi glasses to put on to like prepare his body clock. I don't know if the person who wrote this knew what they were making or whether they really thought they were cooking. It's hard to tell. Time for lashes. So in case you didn't figure it out, Masked Man is L, and he asks Glasses Man, Watari, to sing him a lullaby, essentially. And he does. I hope he gets paid well for having to do this kind of bullshit. So next thing, we see Elle getting on a private jet, and in the meantime, Light finds out that his dad is on a task force looking to apprehend Kira. He is not very popular at the office because a lot of the other cops approve of what Kira is doing. So Dad goes to work and sees that his office has been torn apart by his coworkers, and in walks Watari. Watari says that it's a fact that Kira is somehow linked to law enforcement. Now, those of us who, you know, have seen procedurals and know what's up will find that this is still just a theory until you prove it. But okay, apparently it's a fact that Kira is involved with law enforcement. He says that he works for a world-renowned detective named L, and then he sets up a laptop so that Detective Turner, oh, that's right, his name is Detective Turner, so it's not Light Yagami, it's Light Turner. I feel like my eyelashes have like a very Rose Tyler kind of look today. I don't hate it, but it's very like 2000s. He speaks to L. He doesn't even bother modulating his voice like he does in the manga, or in the anime, I guess. He tells him that he believes that Kira is in Seattle, and he thinks that the things that have been happening in Japan are a misdirect. Actually, he says he knows that Kira is in Seattle, which again, it's a theory. The L in the series always had like a very healthy dose of skepticism in his own theories. He would always say like, oh, there's a 1% chance, there's a 2% chance, not, yes, this is definitely right, I know what I'm doing, I am a genius, or whatever. And then we see Elle eating candy messily. In school, Mia shows Light a site where people put photos and names and accusations so that Kira will hopefully read it and kill them, because these would be people that hadn't been apprehended by the police. And Light says something that I would have said. How do we know that this is true? Like, anyone can put anyone's name and face on there. I think I need a gloss. So they're talking at full volume in public about whether or not they should kill people, which again, Light was not this stupid in the manga. There's no way. There's no way he would ever talk about this in public. I mean, they're dumb and they should get caught. They really shouldn't be talking this loud about anything, let alone murder. Next thing you know, they'll be messing up the card catalog. So, meanwhile, Watari brings Turner to a warehouse. It's set up with computers and whiteboards and all of Turner's research. And in the middle sits Mask Face McGee, otherwise known as L, and Turner says he expected L to be older and that he'd be able to see more of his face. Something tells me that's not what he was gonna say. Apparently he amassed all of the evidence that we see in the room by himself, which is impressive, and L praises him for his good work, but he mentions that the person that they thought was the first victim is not, because the first victim was the guy who did the salute, because apparently it was on a local channel, but they watched it online. So how does that work? Like that they took from the manga, but they watched it on TV in the manga. So because the saluting guy, his toxicology came back clean, they figured that it was Kira who killed him, because otherwise, why did he do that weird behavior? Okay. L talks about everything like it's fact. He doesn't say anything like, oh, this is my theory, this theory lines up with whatever. It's always just like, I'm the smartest person in the room and I am right. So apparently L hacked the Seattle PD and saw that no one else had hacked the system. So it's someone on the force who is accessing this information. I mean, we know all of this, right? Because Light is Turner's son. L makes a public statement, and L basically calls Kira a child and a coward and goads Kira into killing him. And Light is pissed. So in the manga, this was way better. He basically got a death row inmate to make a statement as L, but using his real name, and Light kills him in front of everybody. And so that's how he's able to figure out where Light is, because he does the broadcast in different prefectures in Japan. Fucking love this. So back at home, Light approaches his father and asks him about L, not at all suspiciously.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Light is incredibly calm and clear-headed, and he wouldn't ask questions this obvious. He just goes right up to the lead investigator and is like, tell me about your active duty. Again, you know that it's somehow someone who is involved in the precinct, and this kid is asking really specific questions. So right around this time, Light starts to realize that he is being followed. Light and Mia meet up at the Ferris wheel and talk very loudly and publicly about how they're killing people. Ryuk suggests that they find out the names of the people following them and kill them. Again, Ryuk is a silent party. Ryuk is there to observe and to like chill with Light and get apples and stuff, but he doesn't actually help. There's also a bargain in the manga that is not included here at all. The bargain is if you want to be able to see people's names above their heads, you get the Shinigami eyes. But in order to get the eyes, you need to trade in half of your remaining lifespan, which you don't get to know what that is. So see that you have 50 years left on this earth, goes down to 25, or 5 years goes down to 2.5 years, etc. So Light doesn't want to do that because he wants to be a god on earth as long as possible. Mia also suggests that they kill all of the FBI agents following them, and Light is not down for this. In the manga, it was Light's idea to kill them all. Just saying. So Kira starts to slow its killing, and Mia is not happy about this. Suddenly, the FBI director dies, and L tries to call the team to warn them, but each of them dies as well. They all go to the roof and jump off, which I find really ridiculous because, like, does it just say the roof?
The roof is on fire! The roof is on fire!
They all went to the same building to jump off that one roof. Light thinks that this is Ryuk, and Ryuk is not supposed to kill these people, apparently. So apparently he found a loophole. I don't know what the hell that's about. In the manga, Ryuk still has his own death note that he uses to write down mortals' names in order to continue his own existence, which is what the death gods do. So I don't understand what he's talking about here, but Mia tells him not to worry about it. Don't worry about it. He asks Ryuk whether he killed the FBI agents.
Did you kill those FBI agents? What do you think?
And Ryuk says that he should give up the death note so that Ryuk can find somebody else to use it. And Light says that he will write Ryuk's name in the death note one day. And Ryuk says, a few people have tried to write my name and only ever got to 2 letters. But it says at the starting, the human whose name in this book shall die. So you can't write Ryuk's name. Second of all, Ryuk's name is already written in the pages earlier where it says don't trust Ryuk. It's his name, so he should die because it says his name. So it clearly didn't work. I don't know why I'm trying to go in depth in this. It's stupid. We're moving on. Turner has a press conference and says that he's going to take Kira down, basically goading Kira again. And Light does not kill him, even though Mia wants him to. Light is not having it. In the book, Light would have killed him like that. There's no question.
I don't think there's a question. No question.
So Light says that they're the bad guys now and tells Mia to leave, which she does. Turner comes home and Light hugs him and Elle calls to make sure that he's alive, which basically, because he is alive, he basically is like, yeah, your son is Kira. So Light is at a cafe reading up on Shinigami and a masked man comes and sits across the table from him. He sits in the chair the same way that Elle does in the manga, which I really appreciate. For the most part, for the first half of this movie, I enjoyed Lakeith Stanfield as Elle. The second half is a whole other story. So Elle more or less points the finger at Light and says that he knows that he is Kira. He asks him whether the decision to not kill his father was hard, and Light more or less confesses that the situation has gotten away from him and Mia, and Elle takes his mask off and starts to almost cry when they talk about like right and wrong. This is so frustrating. The two of them are just yelling back and forth, where in the manga it was like internal battles with each other, mental gymnastics trying to gain the upper hand, but here they're just two testosterone-filled men yelling at each other in public. It's frustrating. So Light gets home and Mia is there sitting on the steps getting wet when she could have waited on the porch. So this is clearly for optics. She says that she loves Light. He falls for it. I mean, he kisses her. So they write Watari's name in the death note, which again doesn't make sense. How do you know Watari's first name? Like, he was born with a first name. How do you know? Okay. Anyway, so he writes Watari's name, and then we get another dumbass rule. If a person's name is written on a page, but you burn the page, it cancels out their death, but you can only do it for one person. But that's okay. So let's say that that's true. Once you write their name and the cause of death, regardless if you burn the page, once they start the sequence of events, wouldn't that mean that it's already done? If you say Watari dies after he does XYZ, once he starts doing the XYZ, it's too late, no? It's dumb. I'm not gonna pursue it further. Why do I do this to myself? So he has Watari call him, and Watari calls him and says he doesn't know Elle's name. So then Light gives him instructions verbally. He tells him to go find Elle's name. Apparently all that information is in some old boarding school / military operation where they took kids and raised them to be like super soldiers establishment that Watari has to then go and find. So Elle goes to his room to try to find Watari, and he's not there. So he immediately goes to Light's house with a warrant and asks him to release Watari. The dad is not having it. The dad assaults Elle, which, okay. Is this what American pop culture is? Is just men yelling and assaulting each other? Death Note is about planning, cunning, strategizing, battle of wits. And this is just smashy, smashy.
Smashy, smashy.
The cops search the house and they find nothing. And Watari is in the woods looking for this facility. Mia tells Light that she has the death note, which is why the police didn't find it. And Light and Mia go to homecoming because why the hell not? At this time, Light has handlers again, but he gives them the slip by putting his hat on another student because these handlers are idiots apparently. So Watari calls him and says that he's almost found Elle's name. And so Light goes to burn Watari's page, but the page is gone. He's like, run, Watari, run. That doesn't make any sense. His name is in the death note. He can't outrun his fate. Then Watari's like, oh, I have it. Oh, what is it? Run, run. Your life is in danger. I have Elle's name. Oh, what is it? Watari is shot by SWAT. So Ryuk shows up laughing, saying that he likes Mia a lot. Have you figured it out yet, bro? Mia is the one doing all of this. She killed all the FBI people. She tore out Watari's page. Like, keep up. You're supposed to be a genius. So it flashes back to Mia stealing a page from the Death Note and putting it into her calculus book, which is how she killed all the FBI guys. She was somehow able to sneak up on the director of the FBI and get him to write everybody else's name down so that they all died. Sure, why not? Okay, and this doesn't make sense either. She wrote Light's name down on a piece of the Death Note and says that if he gives her the Death Note, she'll give him the page and he can burn that. Otherwise, he'll die at midnight, which is, I guess, why she didn't want him to burn Watari's page. How do you know that this whole burning page thing hasn't already happened? How do you know that nobody else has used it before? Meanwhile, Elle is losing his mind. He gets a call. So, I forget to mention that Elle, throughout the movie, has talked about how he doesn't carry a gun, which I appreciated. It doesn't seem like a very Elle thing to have a gun. I mean, in Japan, it makes sense for him not to have a gun because nobody really does. But here, you know, for him to be an American with no gun, especially in like law enforcement, that is significant. But once he finds out Watari's dead, he takes a gun. You see where I'm going with this. So he gets a gun, steals a cop car, and then Turner tells the Seattle PD to go and arrest Elle because he's armed and dangerous? Okay. But he's like an Interpol, like FBI asset. Do they even have the jurisdiction to go and arrest him? You're gonna have your little cops arrest him? Light, with the Death Note, goes to the computer lab again, and he opens up that website that has people's names and he's scribbling some stuff. FBI starts to swarm the building. Light looks into the camera for a weirdly long time, and he somehow escapes all of the FBI people. So Elle, meanwhile, is driving like a psycho. He could not be less Elle-like in this moment. He somehow sees Light runs away. Light runs so funny in this. I could just watch this kid run on repeat. Look at him run. Look at this. Look at him run. How did you learn how to run? So Elle gets out of the car and starts running after him. Whoa, hot soup. Elle finally catches up to Light and trains his gun on him. Light tries to explain to Elle that it's too late. They can't really do anything about what's going to happen, and then says something about Mia's calculus book because, you know, she had the page in there, I guess. It's going to come back later. That's the only reason why I am mentioning it. And someone comes out of a kitchen, and Elle tells this person that Light is Kira. So what does this person do? He knocks out Elle because he's like, "You're Kira? Awesome." I guess he takes Elle's gun. He meets up with Mia and grabs her and running towards the Ferris wheel. He holds up the operator and tells him to like send them up to the top. He tells Mia that he wants to be together and tells her not to take the Death Note because then she'll never see him again. She takes it and Elle looks terrified, and he reveals that he wrote her name in the Death Note, but she would only die if she took the book. Again, that's not how it works either. You write it down, she does the thing. There's no if. Okay, so the Ferris wheel breaks, and you see that Ryuk is manipulating the Ferris wheel, like he is the one causing this to happen, which again makes no sense. So they're dangling there, Mia's dangling.
Yeah, it's a lazy dog dangling afternoon.
And Light tells Ryuk he wants to take it back. It's not how any of this works.
That's not how any of this works.
The Death Note falls, she grabs for it, and then falls to her death. And then Light falls, but he survives. So Elle arrives on the scene, and the page with Light's name magically gets set on fire in a barrel, and Elle sees his name on the paper. He doesn't know what the Death Note is, so why does this matter? Someone picks up the Death Note on the beach. So later on, Elle gets chewed out by the police chief. He's all flustered and emotional, and Light is in a coma. The dude who picked up the book brings it to him, and then Light wakes up and puts the book behind his pillow. Someone knocks on his door, which makes no sense because he was in a coma, and it's his dad. Dad says that he realizes that Light was Kira and asks him how he did it. So now we get another flashback, incredibly convoluted. Not in a Death Note way, in a stupid way. All right, see if you can follow this. He used two people from the website. So one was a doctor who was essaying his patients. So that guy dragged Elle out of the water and gave him CPR. to save his life. On top of this, the doctor injects him with something to put him in a 2-day coma. So that's how that happened. And the other one, I don't remember, but he's some kind of creep who went and found the death note floating in the river. And he continued writing criminals' names in the death note while Light was in a coma to clear his name. And then gave the death note to Light. Okay, so that's what that happened there. There's also this whole thing about how Mia's page said she falls when she takes the death note, which again proves that it's not an if situation. He compelled her to take the death note and then falls. All right, we all set? So at this point, Elle has gone completely off the rails. He goes to Mia's house, bursts into her room, and finds her calculus book. He grabs the piece of paper, which is from the death note, and he poises his pen over it. And Ryuk starts to laugh in the hospital with Light. And that's the end of the movie. That's it. That's the end. And then we get to watch the outtakes. Pfft, who wants to watch outtakes? Am I right? This movie didn't need to happen. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I strongly recommend that you read Death Note, the manga, or watch the anime. The anime is very closely related to the manga. There are some differences, but all in all, it's pretty accurate. What bothers me so much is that this could have been good. Lakeith Stanfield is a great actor. Willem Dafoe. I'd always said that if there was a live action Death Note, or if there was an American Death Note, that Willem Dafoe would play a great Ryuk. But in the sense that Ryuk is supposed to be like a jester type character, he's like comic relief. He is not this like insidious, evil, like I want people to die character. He's just, hey man, I was bored. Let's figure out what things are going to happen. You know, I wish that they had stuck more to the point of the book, which is that if you think that you are the be-all end-all in morality and knowledge, that chances are good that you are going to turn into the same monster that the people that you are trying to punish are. Like the way that Light uses people is a lot closer to Mia's character than it is the Light character. And it just feels so frustrating. They had these elements that could have worked. Like I loved Lakeith Stanfield as Elle for the first half. I don't know what to say. This was a piece of crap and I'm sad about it. So what changes would you have made? Do you think what I think, that it could have been good, or was it just doomed from the start? Thank you all for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe. It is free. Take a look at my Linktree, see what I'm doing over on the socials. I also have a jewelry line that I will put in the box below. I hope that you have a great week. I will see you next week, and in the meantime, be queer. Read books. Bye. It was really popular when I was in my tweens. No. Kenny's dead. Let's do under eye now. Under eye. I've fallen on my own knife. I'm bleeding. Shit. Say that you have 50 years. Damn. My little homie Kenny died tonight.